So whenever you are looking in a biometric report, the following things are very very important. You want to note in a biometric report. The first thing you want to look into a biometric report is that the axial length. So you want to look up the axial length. So why axial length? It's very important. Is that so depends on the axial length. You want to mention whether it's an microphthalmia or it is a patient is depends on the accident. You can conclude the patient is having a microphthalmia or microphthalmus or posterior staphyloma in which the accident is more than 26 27 mm. So main thing what you look in a biometric report is that accident is first thing. The next thing is the keratometry, because as you all know, biometric report is going to give you the IOL calculations also. So for IOL calculation, keratometry and then axial length are both the things are very important. So in keratometry, in case of normal manual keratometry, you can have a having a range of 36 to 52, 50, 36 to 52. In case of an automated keratometry or a pentacam or a topography, the range will be little more. So while doing a keratometry, you want to look for any surface disorders because that will affect the keratometry values. But in case of a pentacam or a topographer, even though if the patient is having a surface disorder, you can map the corneal surface and that will give you the entire corneal curvature. So the latest versions of this biometers will give you the anterior chamber depth also. So why anterior chamber depth is important is that in cases of formula selection. So in some formula selection, this anterior chamber depth acts as one of the constant for calculation of the IOL power. So anterior chamber depth, it will you can correlate this anterior chamber depth for the glaucoma patients also. So mainly for glaucoma patients, whenever you are taking a biometric reading, so you can have this anterior chamber depth gives idea in the formula selection. So formula selection also I am going to talk something today. So after this, I am going to talk to you about each formula selection. So for what kind of patient you can select what kind of formulas I will talk. So the next thing is the lens thickness. So as I previously said, lens thickness is very important in a biometric report because for a condition like microspherophakia or the lens thickness will be little more because the anterior posterior diameter in a microspherophakia it will be very long, so that the axial length and then the entire value will change. So lens thickness for a mature cataract it will be more than 4.5 or 5 mm like that. The average normal lens thickness will be around 4 to 4.5 mm. And then this y to y distance, is very important in cases of the corneal diameter. So why corneal diameter is important is that because whenever the surgeon is doing a surgery, they will make the incision mostly on the cornea. But in cases of a reduced corneal diameter, if you take a microphthalmic eye, then even the cornea will be very very small. So in that case, the doctor will not make a clear corneal incision. Instead, he will do a scleral tunnel surgery. Scleral tunnel is nothing but the major incision, that is the from where the doctor is injecting the IOL, that he will put in the incision he will put on the sclera, not on the cornea. Q value is nothing but the asphericity of the eye. So Q value and this the next point, the higher order aberration, both are very important in cases of multifocal implantation or a toric implantation. So Q value, mostly all the biometers will not give this Q value and then this higher order aberration value. So Q value and higher order aberration values will be given by some particular biometer or some particular topographer. So whenever you are going to measure the axial length or measure the keratometry values for a post-LASIK patient or in cases of PK, corneal refractive surgery, post-corneal transplant patient, in that cases, you want to have a look on this Q value and this higher order aberration value. Many IOLs, these multifocal IOLs, they will come up with an cutoff value, even for Q and then this higher order aberration. So mostly the Q value, it will be not exceed 50 microns In cases of higher order ablation, it will be less than 30 microns. If it is exceeding 30 microns, then the patient will be not suitable for the multifocal implant. Okay. So now I'm just explaining you about the three major biometers. One is a normal basic ultrasound A scan. Next thing is the Zeiss IOL master, and next to that is the Oculus. So first basic biometry works on the ultrasound. It uses a 10 megahertz ultrasound probe. So mostly you want to keenly look in the biometry report is the spikes. So spike is nothing but it produces a reflection from each and every interface of the eye. That is a corneal, starting from the cornea till the orbital tissues. It will give several number of spikes. So the spike selection in ultrasound A scan is very important, because if the probe is not perpendicular to your cornea, then you end up with the wrong values of the axial length, or you may get a over what is it overestimated or underestimated value. So mostly here the axial length is axial length distance is measured by this formula, basic distance formula, which is nothing but the velocity into time divided by 2. So this is a ultrasound A scan picture in which there will be several number of spikes. Here the first two spikes is for the cornea. The first broad spike is for the corneal anterior. Hello. Yeah. So first broad spike is for the corneal anterior surface. This is the posterior surface of the cornea, and here this gap is for the aqueous. And this spike is for the lens anterior spike, and this is the posterior capsular spike. Then this broad space is for the vitreous. Then comes the retinal spike. So retinal spikes, till this it will be a retinal spikes. After that, these things are spikes of the orbital tissues. So the main thing you want to look here is for this retinal spike. So whenever you are getting a perpendicular spike like this, then your selection of spike is good. So whenever in few cases, if your probe is not perpendicular to the cornea, or if you are not on axis, you are little bit off axis, then you will not get this perpendicular spike. Instead, you will get a small. The spike will be not this much height, so it will be a little bit small spike. Or whenever you are hitting the optic disc instead of the retina, that time this spike will not be there. Instead of these spikes, you will see these kind of spikes here. So this is what I told. So for a normal phakic eye, you will have a 5 principal spikes which you want to look for, which is the cornea. Cornea will have 2 spikes, and then this anterior lens, and then the posterior lens, then retina. Last comes this orbital fat. But in case of aphakic eye, what we will see is the cornea. Only the posterior lens capsule spike you will see. You will not see an anterior lens capsule spike. Then this retina, then sclera. But in cases of pseudophakia, the IOL spike you will see, but the IOL spike will be not that much. It will not have that much amplitude, and it will not have that much height. Instead, you will have a small spike which denotes the IOL. So cornea and lens spike, that IOL reverberations you will see. So and then the retina, but and then the sclera. But in case of pseudophakia, for axial length measurements, each and every IOL, they are having this correction factor. So this factor, the company, what you are going to implant, what you implanted in the eye, so that correction factor you want to add with the axial length value, that will give the entire axial length. So here I will explain about the Zeiss IOL master. This is a Zeiss IOL master picture. This is a widely used non-contact biometer in India. So mostly these biometers will come with these IOL formulas incorporated. So once you click the button, it will give the entire values along with the formula, along with the IOL power. So here you can see for a post-LASIK or a post-refractive surgery patient, you can here you will have a different modes. So that mode you can select as a post-operative post-refractive correction patient or a post PK patient. After that the values will be a little bit the machine itself, it will give us exact values for the implantation. So here mostly guys they are using this Hygie's formula for the patient who undergone LASIK or a PK prior to the cataract surgery. So mostly the IOL constants will be optimized once the doctor implant nearly 30 to 40 IOLs, which was measured from a machine. So after that only they will the doctors, for each and every doctor, the IOL constant vary, because the surgery technique what the surgeon is doing for each and every doctor, it will vary. So that the optimization of IOL constant is mainly depends on the consultants. So next is the Allegro biograph. This is the next to IOL master. This is a widely used biometer. It is actually it is using a laser interferometry principle. It measures the axial length and it gives the anterior chamber depth value. Also, it gives the corneal thickness. So mostly for the post LASIK cases, corneal thickness is very important. So that mostly during the post LASIK cases, the doctor will do the incision only in the sclera and also in the limbus. So in the limbus, they do the incision. That incision we call it as LRI. LRI is nothing but limbal releasing incision. And after the corneal thickness, it gives the thickness value. Then the corneal curvature, which is nothing but the keratometer. Here is the ACD anatomic. Anatomic is nothing but here this ACD is estimated ACD and this is anatomic ACD. Anatomic ACD is nothing but our normal ACD. This ACD is nothing but post-operatively how much ACD we can expect. And then the retinal thickness, then eye to eye distance. Main thing is this pupillometry. So why pupillometry is important is that for multifocal implantation, pupil size plays a major role. So whenever the patient we are selecting for a multifocal lens, then we can go with the biometry reading in a Allegro biograph. So mostly it is indicated to the patient who are having high myopia, whose axial length is more, and aphakia, then silicone oil filled eyes. Here also in case of silicone oil filled eyes, we want to make a few modifications so that it will give the exact values, because silicone oil has different properties than our vitreous. So the laser light goes with a different velocity in the silicone oil. So we want to enter what centistrokes of silicone oil is there inside the eye. Everything we want to input before taking the readings. So this is the Allegro biograph picture. So next comes the important thing, the IOL calculation formula. So there are several formulas in day-to-day practice, but so each and every formula I will discuss with you now. So first is this SRK regression formula. This is actually a manual formula which you can also use in your day-to-day practice, but it will be not a very accurate one, but you can calculate without any having the automated machine with the help of a constant of the IOL and then the axial length, then the keratometer value. You can measure the power of the IOL. So then comes the Holiday 1 formula. Holiday 1 formula mostly for the eyes less than 18 mm you can use. So Holiday 1 formula will comes with the surgeon factor. So whenever the doctor is going for a Holiday 1, so for each and every IOL, they will have a different surgeon factor. So if the doctor is choosing the Holiday 1, instead of this A constant, they will put this surgeon factor. So surgeon factor, with the surgeon factor, they can calculate the IOL power. So Hoffer Q is mostly, it uses the personalized ACD. Personalized ACD is nothing but before like the optimization of the A constant. So before optimization, the doctor will do a surgery for nearly around 20 to 30 patients. They will collect all the data, and for each and every patient, they will measure the ACD. With that ACD, they will end up with this personalized ACD. So each and every doctor, they will have a separate personalized ACD. So whenever the doctor is choosing the offer Q, in that case, they will use their own personalized ACD to calculate the IOL power. So both these two formulas, Holiday 1 and Offer Q, they are using the patient whose axial length is less than 18 mm or equal to 18 mm. Then comes the SRKT. So SRKT is a widely used formula nowadays in cases of an A scan, and a few consultants, few consultants, they will use this in a optical biometer also. So ultrasound scan, definitely they will go with the SRKT formula. And whenever patient, a few doctors who are having a more faith on SRKT, they, even though they are using a optical biometer, they will go with this SRKT formula. So SRKT formula is nothing but the same SRK regression formula. Along with this regression formula, they will add a correction factor. So correction factor is nothing but according to the axial length, this correction factor we will add with this axial length. Sorry, this formula. So if it is a starting from 25, if it is 24, 23, then it we want to minus 1, minus 2 like that. So if it is greater than 25, then we want to add plus 1, plus 2 like that. So for each and every mm, we want to add or subtract 1 or 2 from the SRK formula, which gives a SRKT formula. Then comes the Holiday 2. Holiday 2 is equal to SRKT. So Holiday 2 is mostly used by the Western countries. So actually, you know, for each and every race or each and every region, the axial length varies. If you take for Indian average axial length is 23.5 to 24 mm, but in cases of an Western countries, 22 to 22.5 is the average axial length. So region wise, if you take most of the countries, they follow this Holiday 2 formula. The Holiday 2 formula will have needs the following values. So whenever you are calculating the Holiday 2, you want to have an axial length value, keratometer value, then the ACD of the patient, then the age, lens thickness, wide to wide distance, and then the refraction. So whenever you are calculating Holiday 2, it follows all these values, and it will be little more accurate than SRKT. So Haigis formula is mostly they formulated Haigis only for the patients who are having a different ACDs, because if you take here A0, A1 and A2, so A0 is nothing but the constant by the IOL. A1 denotes the anterior chamber depth of the patient. A2 denotes the axial length. So here with these three constants, Haigis formula work. So here this anterior chamber depth plays a major role. So when the patients who are having a improper AC depth, or patients who are having a very narrow anterior chamber, so in those patients you can go with this Haigis formula. So this is the picture which shows you a wide range of formula. So here you can say Holiday, Offer Q for the short axial length, then SRKT, Haigis will comes in the same category. Holiday, these three will comes with the the axial length is equal to or within a normal range, then we can use this SRKT, Haigis, Holiday. After that only comes this Barrett. Barrett is nothing but the new generation IOL formula. Barrett actually it is not with they are only designed to calculate for the Alcon IOLs. So Barrett is a many doctors, whenever they are using a optical biometer, they will go with the Barrett, because Barrett gives a very accurate values, and it is a automated method to calculate the IOL power. I think. So here now I will show you how we can calculate in a Barrett. Okay, so this is a Barrett calculation sheet. Here you can calculate for both eyes, and here you can see it will give a keratometer index of two values, because many varieties of keratometer, they will come with the normal keratometer index, which is nothing but 1.3375. But in few cases pentacam or a few keratometer, they will comes with the refractive index of 1.332. So in that, if we are taking a keratometer value from that keratometers, then we want to select this. But mostly we will select this only, because many keratometer machines, they will use this standard keratometer index, so 1.3375. So here you want to put up the doctor name and then the patient name. So here yeah, I will put up Dr. Nivian's name, and then the patient name is Kablam. So patient ID, if you require, you can each and every hospital, they have a separate patient ID, you can put that. But for a Barrett formula, here comes each and every lens, they will have this lens factor. So for Barrett formula, you want to remember two things. For every IOL company, they will have a lens factor and a design factor for a Barrett, because Barrett formula is there. Mostly they made this formula for the lens, in which the design of the lens, and also the nature of the lens, either it's a biconvex or a plano-convex or a plano-concave. So Barrett mostly they design such a way that they can use the lens factor or a design factor. But here you can say lens factor you can put, or a constant of the lens. So if you take a minimal ready lens, which we discussed last week, so the lens factor of the minimal ready lens is 1.75. So here I can put 1.75, and then the axial length of the patient, you can say here the axial length I can put is the keratometer value. But here if you want the refraction values to be included, you can put the refraction values as well. And also here it's optional, but you can, if you put many values, then your readings will be more accurate. So I am here putting the lens thickness values also, and the white to white distance also. So at the same time you can measure for both eyes, so it will give you the both values for both eyes. Or else if you want to calculate for the right eye, you can put the values for the right eye, and you can calculate for the right eye. So once after putting everything, you want to be counter check each and every values. So whether all are right or wrong, you want to counter check. And then here you can see patient data, you enter everything. Then you want to click the calculate. So after calculate, you click the calculate button, you just click the universal formula. Here you can see it will calculate the IOL power to you. So this sheet is the thing you want to present to the doctor. So the IOL power selection is mostly based upon the doctor's choice, whether mostly the doctor, whenever he is implanting, he will aim for the emmetropia. Here if you see, this is near to emmetropia, and if you see here, this is emmetropia. But in cases of in few cases, the doctor will go with a micromonovision. Micromonovision is nothing but one eye for the distance and one eye for the near. In that case, what doctor will do, one eye the doctor will go with this emmetropia power. The next eye the doctor will choose this power instead of emmetropia. So if you take in the right eye, instead of 22, if the doctor implant 22.5, then the patient will end up with a minus 0.5 error post-operatively. So in that case, the patient will have a good near vision, since they are having a minus 0.5. So few doctors, whenever they are implanting a multifocal lens, even though for a monofocal implant, they will plan like this. Since if before the surgery, the doctor will ask the patient according to their needs, they will select the IOL power. So here you can see what are the things we have incorporated in the first slide. It will comes here: axial length, K1, K2 value, ACD, then the recommended IOL for both eyes. It will give for the target refraction of 0. So if you want to be like for refraction of minus 0.5 or minus 0.75 in the first day, it will give the exact values. Then comes the toric calculator. This is actually a Barrett toric calculator. So most of the time that the doctor, if the corneal cylinder is 0.65, definitely the patient will end up with having a toric IOL. So if you take a corneal meridians of two meridians, if the difference between the two meridian is 0.65, then the patient should go for the toric. But actually, Indian surgeons are a little bit smart, and mostly toric IOLs are a little bit expensive also. So in that case, what doctor will do, patient who is having a -1 cylinder also, they will do LRI, because whenever they are touching the cornea, that time the cylindrical power may increase. So in that case, what the doctor will do, the doctor will do the LRI instead of the corneal incision. They will do the incision in the limbus, so that the cylindrical power remains the same after the surgery also. So in that case, what happens? The patient will I can go directly with a monofocal instead of a toric. So here, one main thing is here we are mostly in India we are using the negative cylinder. That's why I'm selecting this negative cylinder form. And also the selection of eye is very important, because if you take a toric calculator, these are the axis markings for an eye. For each and for right eye and for left eye, it will varies. If you see, wait. For the right eye, if I click, so if you say this is the nasal side and this is the temporal, okay. But mostly the doctor will do the incision in the temporal side or in the superior side. So here the main thing is that, so after you incorporating all the values, here I will put Dr. Vivian. So the lens factor is the same. So here, if you take the corneal flat curvature value is 44.50, then you want to select the axis of the flat axis also. So I am selecting 45. And the steep axis is 46.25. Steep axis is 135. Okay, so the axial length of the patient is 23.67. Is this? So these are the normal values. Normally with the biometric sheet, you came to know about all these values. But this incision SAA is nothing but the surgeon induced astigmatism. So SAA for each and every consultant, it will varies. So if you say a doctor who have a vast experience, their surgery induced astigmatism will be very low. That will be equal to 0.1 or 0.2 like that. But a new doctor who is new to the practice, in that case, the surgery induced astigmatism will be 1 diopter or 1.5 diopter. So here I am in, it has 0.25. And the incision location, so the incision location for right eye and left eye, it varies, because as I said, most of the incision they will do in the temporal side or a superior side. So here because I'm putting the incision location as, so I'm keeping it here in between 135 and 180. So I'm keeping it as 160. So lens thickness is 4 mm and then Y to Y distance is 12. So this is for the right eye, but for the toric, you can calculate both eyes simultaneously. You want to calculate for the right eye first and for the left eye. So here, after putting everything, you just click calculate. So after the calculation done, you will have the picture like this. So here, as after here you can see, this is the flat axis. So flat axis will be denoted by the green line, and then the steep axis will be denoted by the blue line. Then the incision which we mentioned here, 160 degree. So incision axis is 160 degree, and it will give the net astigmatism value. That is, which is nothing but the difference between the right eye and then left eye. But if you take here, flat axis is 44.50, and steep axis is 46.25, which is more than 1.5 and 1.2 1.75, but here it is showing 1.44. So the difference is that, so whenever we are calculating in Barrett, it will take few amounts of posterior corneal astigmatism as well. So in that's why there is a difference in the net astigmatism here. Instead of 1.75, it is showing 1.44. So click the toric IOL. So it will give us the values like this. So here mostly for a toric IOL, they will use the spherical equivalent instead of sphere value. So here you can say this is a spherical equivalent value 18. So the 18 is the sphere value, and then the cylindrical value will be the 2.25. So here for a sphere, it will give a post-operative refraction of 0.09. Cylinder of 2.25 will give 0.06 cylinder at 141 axis. So this is the target refraction after the surgery, and this is the IOL plane, and you want to place the IOL in 141 degree. If you if there is some axis change after for the IOL placement, 5 degree, within 5 degree change, it is acceptable. The lens power will not have much impact. The target refraction will remain the same. But if the instead of 141 degree, if the lens rotated as 150 degree or 160 degree, then the cylindrical power will be very, very high. It will end up with having -2 cylinder, -1 cylinder, like that. So whenever you are calculating for a toric, you want to be make sure the incision location, the steep axis, and then this planned axis. This is called as a planned axis. Planned axis is very important. As an optometrist, whenever you are writing in a case sheet for after calculation, you want to mention this planned axis in a way that the doctor will mostly look on this planned axis and also this incision axis, because these two plays a major role in this target refraction. So this is the thing. So mostly most of the time nowadays the doctors are going with these online calculators than the biometric calculation, because these online calculators are giving a much more accurate value. If you say mostly whenever the doctor is calculating with this Barrett formula, they will aim for this emmetropia. But whenever the doctor is calculating with the normal IOL, SRKT, or whenever the doctor is calculating with some other biometry machines, that time the doctor will either go with the first plus or the first minus. They will not go with the emmetropia. Since Barrett is giving a very, very accurate values, the doctor, whenever they are calculating with Barrett formula, they will go with the emmetropic power only. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you. Siddharth? Hello?
Yeah,
Hello?
hello. Can you able to hear me?
Yeah, Siddharth.
Yeah. Does anyone have any doubt? You can just post it in the chat box, or you
Chat
can
box.
just unmute yourself and then ask.
Yeah, people, if you have any clarification or if you have any doubts, you can ask, so that I'll be here to help you out. Any questions related to biometry or keratometer or any other doubts you are having, you can post it here.
Okay. So I think everyone is clear with your explanation, and I think
Okay.
they will be able to calculate the IOL power if I ask them in the exam. Okay.
Yeah, Siddharth, if you want, I can give you a few biometry details so that you can give it to them to calculate on their own, just for a practice. So
Okay.
they can Google. If you just go to Google and then you just type Barrett calculator, Barrett IOL, like that. So in that it will come. This you can go to this website for the calculation. So it will directly go to that page so that they can easily calculate on their own.
Okay. How frequent Barrett calculations are used in day-to-day scenario?
Yes, that actually day to day mostly for branded IOLs and for if you take for if the patient is going for an Alcon IOL or a very branded IOLs, mostly in that case at that time they will go with this Barrett, and mostly for the multifocal lenses and the multifocal toric they are using these Barrett calculators. If you take actually this Barrett toric calculator is meant to for the Alcon toric IOLs only,
Okay,
because
okay.
Alcon nowadays Alcon market is very huge in India. So many doctors they are going with the Alcon only. So Barrett toric or Barrett normal calculator is meant to calculate for the Alcon IOLs, but it is giving very accurate readings for the other IOLs also, so that the other IOLs they started their own lens factor and they started using this Barrett calculation.
Okay, okay, okay. In anything else which you want to ask?
You're asking me?
No, no. I'm asking the
Students.
student.
Okay.
So if anything, just post it in the chat box. Also, it would be fine. Okay. So, Anush, do you want to tell anything here?
No, Siddharth. If students have any questions, they can raise the questions.
Okay, then.
Students have any questions?
Fine then. So, I think they would be able to answer. So, they are clear with every aspects of the lecture. So that's why they are not asking any questions, and they will be able to answer that in the exams if we ask. So they are that clear. Okay, and thank you for your time, Anand. That is like the second time, and accepting our request for the second time again. And I think
it's actually my pleasure, Siddharth, because this is actually whenever we are giving like teaching them more, then it's actually my experience. Like I will learn more, and then I want to actually for this preparation for the past 2 weeks I was looking through many websites and looking through many formulas, because these formulas nowadays many people they are not using. Only the Barrett and SRK is widely used, but other formulas their origin, and then it's actually my pleasure to teach or lecture these people so that I can also learn many things.
Okay, and you have got a question now.
Yeah.
What does planned and insertion axis mean?
Okay, so incision axis is that the doctor actually I told the steps of the cataract surgery last week. So just a minute, I will go through that presentation once again. Yeah, if you see here, I said about the incision making. Okay, so here I said about the main port. Main port is nothing but the if you say the doctor is doing a micro incision surgery, that micro incision is nothing but the main port. So that incision that the doctor is making to inject the IOL is the incision axis. The planned axis is that whenever you are going to implant a toric IOL, and that the toricity of the IOL will act at a particular axis. Like our spectacle glasses, if we say some moment of cylinder -2 cylinder across 180 like that, so that across 180 the same thing goes with the IOL. So in IOL, instead of across, they will put at, so they will place the IOL at that particular axis. That is the planned axis.
Okay.
So incision is before surgery, planned is during the surgery.
Okay, so I think that clears one of our students' doubt. So if anything else, if you want to ask, you can ask. And okay. So fine then. So and thank you for your time, Anand, and it was pleasure to have you. And then it was a complete covering of the entire topic. So though it has been 2 sessions, it can't be completed in one single session. And thank you for showing your interest for to coming to take another session, so that it would be a complete lecture on IOL designs and biometry. Thank you so much, Anand.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Siddharth.
thank you for taking
Yeah,
2 sessions of
thank you.
classes.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.